Hello, everyone, and welcome back to One Soccer. I'm your host for today, Josh Deming. I am joined by Alex Gonge-Ruzic and our special guest today, Tani Oluwaseyi. Tani, how are you doing today?
I'm good. How you guys doing?
Not too bad. I appreciate the time. Very excited to chat with you, and we're going to dive right into your big year. You have
Yes,
8
sir.
goals, 5 assists with Minnesota. You got your first Canada call-up, played in a major tournament. Tell me a little bit about the year, and has it really sunk in that all this has happened?
Yeah, no, I think it's definitely been a great year that probably surpassed my expectations a little bit. I think the one thing I will say is that my goal before the year was 10-5, so I didn't exactly get there, but we still got a couple games in the playoff to round that up, so hopefully I could do that. But I think just overall, both with my club team and with the national team, I think the national team especially from, not really ever getting a look beforehand to playing in a Copa America semifinal. I think it's been a bit of a whirlwind, but one that I'm very grateful for, and one that I've been good at taking time to acknowledge and really appreciate, because times like this you never really know what the future holds. So it's always important to take things as they come and make sure that you're living in the moment a little bit. And I think I've done a pretty good job of doing that.
Danny, it's a pleasure to have you on the show. I mean,
Thank you.
you spoke about it there. It's season's not over. I was gonna, if you didn't say it, you got your playoffs.
Yeah.
I'm just curious, what's it been like being on the playoff run? You guys obviously, maybe on paper a bit of an upset, but you guys have been in great form. You had penalty shootouts. You got to score in one of them. What's it just
Yes.
been like being in the midst of this playoff hoopla?
Yeah, no, I think this is actually my first MLS playoffs in the year three. But going into it, I think for us, a lot of people had us as underdogs, but I think in-house we knew what we were capable of. We knew how we finished a year out post Copa. We knew that we put on a good stretch of games, and we were kind of figuring out who we were as a team. We had a lot of ins and outs, we had a lot of moving parts on the team, but as soon as we locked into our identity a little bit and figured out like what we do well in games and what wins us games, I think we really committed to that, and I think it's paid off in the long run. And I mean, if you see the two games, we win on penalties, but both those games we easily could have won in regulation as well. So we do win on penalties, and it adds to the excitement and makes it that much more fun. But I think we're full speed ahead right now. Excited for Galaxy and 20 whatever days it is. But yeah, no, we're really excited for it, and I think the sky's the limit for this team.
Now, Tani, let's rewind a little bit here. You've had a bit of an unconventional journey to a pro. I want to hear a little bit about your college experience and maybe if there's any challenge of going through the draft and get drafted.
The college experience was fun. I think I St. John's was a great 3.5 years. I think I played with some really good players. Played with a good all-time coach with Dave Mazer over there. And I think in terms of going to the draft, I think the biggest challenge for me was being injured my senior year, and that definitely proved to be a challenge because it affected me going to my first year as well. But I think after my sophomore year, where I think I kind of got on the scene a little bit and got on the national scene, I think I always had a belief that the draft was very much possible and within my grasp, and it was just up to me to do the rest to solidify the position that I put myself in. So I think I did a good job of that even without playing in my senior year. And having to deal with an injury is never easy, and for it to hinder my first year like it did, I think that just kind of helped me be stronger and set me up well for my loan last year and set me up even better for this year.
Tanny, of course, last year you had a pretty special experience in terms you got loaned to the USL. You had lots of fun there. You were scoring, I think, 17. It ended up finishing in all
18.
comps. 18. Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Transfer mark. Got to update the plug there. But San Antonio had a lot of Canadian flavor. Canadian coach Rita Zu here as well as a teammate. What was that like? That whole San Antonio experience, and what did you maybe take from it for this year?
I think I'll be lying if I said I was excited at first going there, because coming into my second year, I think I had a lot of the same expectations I had for myself this year, the same ones I had last year. But with the way the game goes, so many moving parts that early on I saw that I probably wasn't going to get the minutes that I thought I might have deserved. So once the loan opportunity provided itself, I may not have been excited for it at first, but I realized that if I could go down there and do my part, then it would set me up perfectly for the future. So, I went there, and it was honestly it was a lot of fun. I met a lot of really great guys. I played with a lot of really good players as well. And getting off the mark in my first game, scoring pretty good goal, I'd say. That kind of, I think, gave me the confidence I needed to go from there, because I think scored in that game, and then I think I either had a hat trick in the next game or the game after that. So like, as soon as that happens, and I kind of set a little bit in the confidence builds. I just knew that with the team we had as well, they had just won the year before, so they had really high expectations. And as somebody who has really high expectations for myself, I think it was a perfect match, as well as the play style that we had as well, which was really direct. So after I settled in and got used to living in San Antonio and everything like that, I knew that this could be a really good year for me if I stayed grounded and did the things that I needed to do, and it ended up being really fun.
Yeah, you never really broke stride. Had a great season with San Antonio. Then you went to Minnesota, became a part of that team. You got your
Yeah.
call up in June to Canada for the first time. Within a month, you're playing big minutes off the bench at Copa America.
Yeah.
What did Jesse Marsh tell you during some of those few conversations leading up to your first appearance for Canada?
I think coming in, he just kind of told me that they've been watching me and they've seen what I've done for Minnesota, and he thought that I had a lot of attributes that matched how he wanted to play with Canada. And him coming in as well, he had to bring his ideologies to a group that he'd never been with. So I think everyone went through a little bit of an adjustment process, but I think he just stressed to me that to play to my strengths, and he also stressed to me to work on the things that I needed to work on to be able to be in that environment. Because if you look at our team, there's guys at really big clubs all over Europe. So, you have to raise it up that much more. And I think I did a decent job of doing that in training. And I was lucky enough that he gave me the minutes. And till this day, I probably should have had one or two goals in Copa. I'll definitely be the first one to say that. But I think these things are just learning experiences and things that you can kind of just grow from and be better for it in the future.
And perfect segue, because I was going to ask you next question. You can take this wherever you'd like. What are some of the big learning lessons you've had this year? It can be stuff off on the field, off the field. What are some things you look back on in terms of your learnings?
I think the biggest thing that I learned was one, just seeing just what the talent looks like all over the world. You mentioned a guy like Jonathan David, who right now is probably one of the best strikers in Europe. And to be able to train with him on a daily basis when with the national team, you kind of see what that level is like, and it tells me, the work I have to do to get anywhere close to that level. And you can see his work ethic, you can see the way he carries himself, you can see the way he performs in games. And as playing a similar position for him, I've just tried my best to, take little things from here and there. And I think overall the biggest thing was just for me to be able to just keep going, keep practicing, and just keep improving as a player. And just seeing these guys who play, they're playing Champions Leagues, they're playing the things that I've always wanted to play. It just lets me know that I still have a long way to go, and I think that's the work that I'm willing to put in, whether it's been since Copa or after that. I think it just shows me that there's still quite a long way for me to go, and I think I have the ability to reach that.
Now, Tani, like you mentioned, you have high expectations for yourself. You're expected to score goals. You do score goals. What was your favorite goal you scored this year?
My favorite goal I scored this year was my first start for Minnesota, against Charlotte. Most people expect me to say Columbus Crew, and that one was definitely a great goal, especially it being my first one, and what that moment meant for both the fans and the players being the first home game. But the reason I say the Charlotte one is because I think the level of difficulty on that one was a little bit higher, just because it was my weak foot. And I get a lot of shtick for my right foot a lot of times. So for me to be able to score a goal like that, it's definitely one that sticks in my head for sure.
So I was expecting detail, got detail. Love it. Love when a goal scorer remembers his goals. Sometimes
Yeah.
it's I score, I'm like forget it. No, I like when you bring the detail. But I imagine one of those guys giving you stick had to been Dane, right? Just take us through the relationship with Dane, having a Canadian with the national team, and just sharing that experience this year.
Yeah, no, I think it's definitely made the transition a lot easier. Him being one of my closest friends at Minnesota, and to bring that into the national team, I think he did a good job of giving me a heads up of what the setup was like, what the guys were like, and I think in the end that transition was a lot easier for me, and I think it's paid off in the long run, just because I've been able to mold really well with all the guys. And it feels like I've been there for years, even though it's only been a couple months and a couple camps, but. Um, yeah, no, that's my guy. That's the guy I do almost everything with here in Minnesota. So it's always nice that we get to get that national team together, and it's always also helpful that we're usually on the same plane ride. And I'm a little bit unorganized, so it helps that he can kind of keep me in check a lot of times as well. So it's really good.
Hey, Tani, I'm just curious because, of course, you're eligible to represent Nigeria. It's always a question that I love asking dual nationals because it's, tough. You have multiple identities in football. Sometimes you get put in a box. You got to choose one. How was that like, just that experience of choosing Canada? Was that always something top of your mind? And what was that like, just, kind of carrying that through the experience, especially on a Canadian team where there are a lot of guys in a similar situation?
Yeah, no, I think for me, I've always felt very much as Nigerian as I also feel Canadian. So if I had gotten the privilege to represent either, I would have felt honestly incredibly privileged. And when the idea of, or even me being in a national team picture kind of came up, the question of Nigeria was definitely raised. But I think even if you look at Nigeria and the players they have, it definitely proves a little bit. It might have been a little bit more difficult for me to get into a squad like that, but even with that being said, I think I was definitely leaning towards coming to Canada anyways, because I just feel like I've been here since I was 10 years old. My whole family lives there. All my friends and all the people that I know live in Canada. So for me, I was probably leaning towards Canada anyways. And I think God, everything happens for a reason, and God has a purpose for us and what we're supposed to do. And I think Canada was supposed to be what I was supposed to do, and it's worked out exactly like that.
Tani, you mentioned you had a couple chances for the men's national team that you just weren't able to bury. How excited are you for that first goal? Are you looking forward to it? Do you have a celebration in mind? It's only a matter of time now, I imagine.
Definitely. I think I've played a lot of those moments back in my head, and a lot of them would have been at timely moments as well. So it would have been honestly incredible to get one of those. But I think the biggest thing about being a striker is being able to focus on the next one. And I think for me, I've imagined what that first goal would feel like, and the thing about me is that I could plan celebrations, but a lot of my high school college teammates make fun of me because it usually just ends with me running and jumping. So I think it'll probably be something along those lines, especially if it's a big goal. I mean, I was hoping to get one in Toronto. It would have been nice because that's home for me. But I think whenever it happens, wherever it happens, I'll just be honestly probably filled with a lot of emotion and just really grateful for kind of like a full circle moment.
Speaking of Toronto, the World Cup is coming to Toronto in 2026. What are your thoughts looking ahead to that World Cup, and how much do you want to be a part of it?
I think that's the dream. I think playing in a World Cup is a dream, and to be able to play on a World Cup on home soil is doesn't really get much better than that in the game. And I think for me, it's done a lot to be a constant motivator for me because I know that my goals or what I'm looking at aren't just for the next game or for this season. It's I need to keep pushing to be able to be on that squad in 2026, and I think it's been really good for me as a motivator. And I think even just Canada in general, I think it's going to be an incredible time for us all because, as you can see, we're definitely on the up and coming. So I think from now up until then, I think we're going to be a formidable team that can really. We're not just going there to participate. We're going there to shake it up a little bit and hopefully go as far as we possibly can. So it's definitely exciting, and I'm really looking forward to it. And hopefully I'm going to be part of the squad that can do something special.
All right, Tani, final question for you. I want to know if you have any thoughts on that 59 overall FC card. Surely you have something to say to EA about that.
To be fair, at this point I've realized that they don't care about the MLS. They don't really watch it at all. So I mean, you see, Moyes was probably lower than that, and then he goes to Europe and his card skyrockets. So I don't really put too much thought into it. The game isn't that great, anyways. So it is what it is at the end of the day. So I think it's always. But with that being said, I think being on FIFA, the first time I saw my card was one of the best feelings I've had. Just it being a game that I grew up playing. So I think it'll always be special, whatever my rating is, to be able to say that I was on FIFA at some point. So yeah, it is what it is.
Yeah, little shots fired. That's fair. But Tani, I
Yeah,
really
no
appreciate the
worries.
time. Best of luck in the rest of the season, man. And it was great talking to you.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it.